The biggest roasting I've ever had was my championship debut against Derry in the championship, marking the end on the doom. I went out that day and marked him, and he was just unbelievable. He was kicking on the left, kicking on the right, and he was taking over the bar. He got 5 points off me that day, but he didn't even finish the game, so I got a bit of a break. End on the doom went off, and Paddy Bradley came on.
Hello folks, thanks so much for clicking into this interview with Sean McVeigh. This is part of our We Built All Saints initiative, where you can buy a plaque for the side of the pitch for just £50. Click the link to sign up for it. This was shot in lockdown, and there's still loads of value to take from it. Thanks, Sean, for your time.
In your sport, who was the first person you came up against that really opened your eyes to senior Gaelic football, who maybe gave you a bit of a roasting or give you the business that day? Is there anyone that stands out in your mind?
I think my transition into senior football was a lot more fluent than a lot of other people's. I was 15 years old, but I was always involved in that senior team. I always went to training with my dad, so I knew everybody. And when I went from 15 into the senior team, my dad was playing. I played a lot of season with dad, and about 5 or 6 uncles playing. So that transition was quite good. I remember my first game. I don't remember who was marking, but I remember my very first game was up in Cherryvale, and we were playing McDermott's. And McDermott's were known as a West Belfast club who were strong and sometimes played on the line. And I came in as playing corner forward, and I just remember the man, because I was just a boy, just battering me, hitting me, and I thought to myself, "Geez, this never happens when I'm playing under 16s." And that's when I first thought to myself, "God, this really is a step up." But I loved it. I was playing under 16 and minor at the time for All Saints, but I always looked forward to senior training. I think just mixing it with a lot of the seniors. At the time I was starting, there was a lot of quality players. Peter and Paul, my uncle Barney were playing, my dad was playing, Timmy Conley was a great footballer, and they're all physical and strong, and they didn't hold back. So it was probably more than any match or any opponent made me realise I had to step up. It was my teammates. They didn't give me any an easy ride. They made me work for getting my place, and I from training with them I realised that you could ride a tackle or two at under 16 and even minor, but with senior it's just you're playing boys against men. So it was probably the first time I was with All Saints at training. But I always had, growing up from under 12 the whole way up through, I always had ding dong battles with Paul Dock from the Shark. Dock was a quality footballer. I ended up going to St Louis and playing with Dock there too. He was always known as one of the best players around. He represented Ireland. Every time I knew I was playing with Shark, and I knew I was going to have a hard time. But it's also other boys that don't even play now. Another boy from Shark who was really good when he was young, Paul's cousin actually, John Dock. He was a big physical footballer on the age level. He doesn't play anymore. And Pascal McAlean from Portmore. Yeah. I always remember him, playing up in the county with him up to under 16. Like he was a beast. He was unbelievable footballer. And I could be wrong here, but I don't even think he played senior football for Portmore. I know his brother did. He played, but there's all those boys that you realise they're good footballers, and you're going to have a hard time with them. But I honestly can't say that I remember getting any roasting at club football. Maybe a bit later, Mick McCann. Probably one of the best footballers I've played against in Antrim football. He call him the Rolls Royce. It is true. Like he's very graceful on the pitch and hard to work with. But the biggest roasting I've ever had was my championship debut against Derry in the championship, marking the end on the doom. Jody Gormley and Joe Brawley was in to help us. It was the time we were all told, myself and Cobo. I think Cobo made his debut that same day. So I was fullback and Cobo was cornerback, and Brawley came in and he had this great tactic of we had to face our goalkeeper, so we're back to play and just put our hands up in our opponent's face. That was our tactic, and I suppose me and Cobo being young and making our debut, we did as we told, and we stuck to the letter of law. But that whole season, I was playing right half back for Antrim, and Paul Dock was playing full back. And about a week before the championship, for whatever reason, they switched the two of us. And I remember Joe and Jody coming to me and saying, "Look, you're marking Eldon Madoon. I don't want you jumping with him." And I remember thinking to myself, "Geez, Eldon Madoon's he must be 6'4", 6'5", and they don't want me jumping with him. This is going to be tough." And he says, "Just let him get the ball and shield him out." So again, being young, I thought I'd do that. So John Finucane was doing nets, and all you heard from John Finucane was to your left, Snowy, to your left, Cobo, to your right, telling us directions to run. But, because I was facing the opposite direction, it was, when he was saying his left was my right. And it was just, it was just a nightmare of a situation. And I was marking the end of the doing, and I always knew he was a class footballer. But I went out that day and marked him, and he was just unbelievable. He was kicking on the left, kicking on the right. And, he was getting the balls out of the sideline. You thought, right, I'll just shadow him like I was told. You'll be okay here. And he was taking over the bar. He got 5 points off me that day. But he didn't even finish the game, so I got a bit of a break. Ellen doing it off, and Paddy Bradley came on. So it was...
oh my goodness.
I think we the whole team got a bit of a roasting for our tactics that day, but I'll never forget just thinking, I thought that season I had quite a good season.
Yeah.
And playing halfback, but then it was after that game I realised that I had a lot to do. And even now, when I look back, somebody recently sent me a photograph of me marking on that day, and it was literally a man against a boy. Like, I was small and skinny, and ended up doing was so much bigger than me. So I definitely came back from that game thinking, God, I've a lot of work to do here, so they were probably the biggest learning curves at different levels. I don't. Everybody's going to get a roasting at some stage. And you're going to get the start of your career, the end of your career, the middle of your career. You're always going to get it. It's just how you. I think that you shouldn't have that big of an ego to realise that you can't get roasted by somebody that you don't know, because it could happen anytime, for whatever reason. So like I've tried not to, throughout my career. I've got better at it, but I've tried not to allow bad games personally or somebody getting the better of me to get the better of me.
Did you and Cobo have a chat about the debuts, or was it just sort of like, did you have a chat about it?
No.
Right after it, did you? I know you're, which I'm always impressed by, is that you keep journals.
No, there wasn't, and like I don't know, championship debuts for me anyway. Never really. My championship debut never really stood out as a debut, because I played the whole season for Antrim. So I was used to that environment. I was used to going and playing county games in the changing rooms with boys that I watched maybe 2 or 3 years before, and that was my second year in the panel. My first year under McVeigh Colbert, I trained all year and didn't get 1 minute of play. And I think that's very important for young people. You have to buy your time, be patient. Don't expect everything to come to you at once. Learn the trade. I don't think I talked to Cobo about it. And anyway, Peter, at the time, me and Cobo were like I said, we were green. We were, if they told us to, hang around the goalpost, we would just hung around the goal. We would have done what we were told. I'm sure we're both delighted we got our debut, but for me it was never about making a debut. It was more, first of all, we were beaten, and I was roasted. I kind of remember going home being disappointed. There was no happiness of having made it onto the county team. It was at championship day. I got roasted. I've got a lot to do. I need to work on, and that's where you're talking about the journals. That's kind of something that I took from that. You write down how you feel, and you read it back, and you realise that, God, there's a lot of times you're feeling bad after a game, but don't let it affect you. Have a goal and set your goals out. I'm still setting myself different goals all the time, not just sporting, but everything. I think that's you mentioned the journals. I think that's the thing that I got most from it, is being able to reflect on a game and reflect on how you feel that the game went for you or the game went for your team. I think it's very powerful, because people will tell you how the game went at their point of view. You'll go onto a newspaper, or you'll go onto one of these boards, and you've got some man who's probably never played football before, and they'll tell you how you did and what you did well and what you could do better. You tend to get sucked into that, but by keeping your own journal, you have from your point of view how the game went, and I think you can improve and adapt using that reflection.
But see, just to nail down into the specifics, Sean, see in your journal, do you do it after did you do it, or do you do it after every training, every weight session, or is it just every game? And what does it look like? Is it like 3 positives, 3 negatives? I remember in your way back when you were lifting weights, you wrote down what you did, but you also, you give it a score out of 10 on how well you think you perform within that exercise?
After every game. I would have had my, club game or county game. I'd have done it. And basically, I would have just written down what I thought went well for me and what I could improve on and what went well for the team and what the team could improve on. And then in terms of training, I would have how I felt I trained. And you're talking about the scores I gave when I was in the gym. It wasn't how good I thought it wasn't how good I thought I was doing at that exercise. It was how hard I thought it was. So it was out of a 1, 2, and a 3. Very hard, and the reason for that is just progression. At the time I was doing training by myself on top of counting time 4 times a day. So by the time you were doing that same session again, it was maybe a week later, so you can't remember what that weight felt like. So I'd go in my journal and say, oh, it was a 2. So if it was 2, I'd normally say, right, I'm doing three sets here, or I'm doing 3 sets of sprints or 3 sets of lifts. That was a 2, so I found it okay. And so what I might do is keep the same weight or keep the same distance for the first 2 sets, and then increase it for the final set. Or if it was a 1, for example, 1 would mean that it was easy. So I would start with a heavier weight or a longer distance, and then 3 means it was hard. 3 usually for me, 3 meant that I couldn't finish the reps. So then I would adapt it. But the journal and the training, it just the reason why I kept the training is because I put down what I ate, so what I ate that day and what I had eaten.
Sorry, Sean, is this back? How long have you been doing this? Sorry.
I've been doing this since probably when I was in Sinai. So first, second year university. So 19, probably from 19, probably a year before I got on the county team. And the thing that I found best about it was you get to realise what's good for you before training, what's good for you before matches, and by having a diary of the foods that you've eaten, the fluids that you've taken in, the training you've done the week previously, you can see, well, geez, I was playing that game and I felt sharp that game. I felt really good. What was I doing before that? Oh God, I was very lethargic today. I really struggled with this today. My hamstrings were really sore today, or my back was sore. Wondered why. Oh God, I was deadlifting too close to the station. And it was just these things that, and I would have made the same mistakes so many times, but it was in my head, and I was learning, and I was adapting, and I was able to look back and see why did I feel good. And what I did do after every session was an overall session of how I felt, and it was just basically like a smiley face, or smiley face or sad face or a straight face, meaning good, okay, not good, and that just let me know how I felt. So if I felt something really good, I would look back and not say, well, I did this, I did that. And habits built out. But then got to the stage that I didn't need to write it all down all the time, because it became a habit, and it became routine. And I knew what worked for me, especially with club football. You might have a game on a Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock, and the foods that you've eaten that day are different to a game on a Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock. The times that you waking up are different, because at the start, I struggled with that, because, if you had a game at 2 o'clock, and being in university, I was maybe getting up at 11 o'clock, and you only have one breakfast. So just things like that kept my mind focused and allowed me to know what worked for me. Wouldn't, like, somebody else could open those books and it meant nothing.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the most devastating things was I had 2 big A4 hardback books filled with the journal. And I had them stapled together, glued together, whatever, but they were together. And I was training in Queens at the time, and I lost them. And I think it had all my gym programs, had all my training, my running sessions, my nutrition. It had everything, that I was keeping. I'd say like the guts of 2 years anyway of things that I've done. And I lost it, and I'm still a bit got it, because it's something now I'd like to look back on. And I'm never, obviously I'm older now. I don't have the same training goals, so it'd be interesting to see what I was doing compared to now. At the time when I was that age, I was trying to bulk myself up and get bigger. Now my main focus is recovery and trying to stay as lean as possible.
People see you play today, Sean, or have seen some of your performances before, and they think, God, he's gifted athlete, he's gifted player, he's never been dropped. So, has there been a time, where you had to deal with getting dropped, and then how did you handle that?
Yeah, I've been rejected. The rejections stand out more than anything else. So you'd probably say I've been rejected more than I've, than I've been successful. Rejection is part and parcel of sport. Like you look at one of the best sportsmen in the world, Michael Jordan. He was rejected at a young age, with some of his teams. I think it is how you deal with it that makes you stronger or weaker, depending how you deal with it. My first rejection that I can never remember was minor championship. So we played a few tournaments, and I was playing. I was happy enough. Now, to be honest, I can't even remember whether this boy took my position or not. But that's the way I remember it. Like, took my position. So we were playing, and we had a championship in Casement, and I was a minor, and I was expecting to play. Whether that was naive by me, but I was expecting to play. And then the week of the championship, boy, he plays Irish League soccer now. Some boy Ward, can't remember his first name. Ward, he didn't play juvenile football. I don't even think he had a club. I think he was maybe affiliated with Sarsfields, but wasn't in the football scene. But the county manager, obviously a quality footballer, and a good Gaelic football player, but wasn't involved with us, and wasn't involved with his club at that level. But anyway, he came in and maybe didn't take my position, but took a position in the team, which meant that I was sub. And I remember that was my first rejection. Really disappointed about that. And it's not. I would never hold that against the person who came in. He was asked to come in and do a job, and he did. And I think it was actually fairly decent that day too. But that was my first disappointment. I thought maybe I'm not cut out. Maybe I'm not good enough for county football. So maybe concentrate more on just club football. And that's what I did. The good thing about, I've always found out the good thing about Gaelic football is when you're playing county and you have something bad happen, you lose a game, or you don't have a good game, or you get dropped or whatever, you go back to club training and none of your friends care. We're back to training. They don't care. They just see you as normal. So you're brought back down to earth, and whether it's because you've had a cracker game the day before, you go to club training, the boys don't care. You're just their friend that's always been there. Or you've had a bad game, they don't care. So you just get on with it. So that was my first bit of rejection. I thought to myself, right, well, at that stage I played 3 or 4 seasons with the senior team, and I was playing minor club football. And I thought, right, I'll just throw all into this club. I want to have a really good year with the seniors, and I did. My motivation for me at that time was, right, forget about county football. That's just, it's just unfortunate. But go and be as good a footballer as you can for Ballymena seniors, and I did. And I think I was intrinsically motivated at that stage to better myself as a player. And I was disappointed for maybe a week or so with not getting on. I didn't want to talk about the game, didn't want to mention it. But I got over it. I don't think anybody in that minor. I think Michael Hearn was the only person from that minor team that's still playing now. A lot of people who played in that minor team started, who were main players, never played senior club football. So all's not lost at underage. There's a lot of development of boys into men, and a lot of other distractions. So if there's young people going through the same thing, I would say, listen, don't give up, because you're young. If you really want to be the best footballer, I would say, don't say that you want to be. I want to play for Antrim. I want to play for Ulster. I want to play for Ireland. I want to play for my club. Don't say that. Just say I want to be as good a footballer as I can, and do everything you can do to be as good a footballer as you can, and hopefully the rest take care of itself. As you get older, how you deal with rejection completely changes. And I think there's a few other times that stand out to me, and it's both very similar scenarios. It was league finals in Croke Park. One of them was Tommy Murphy Cup final in Croke Park. I think it was the year before we won it. I can't remember exactly what year it was, but I had played all the championship. It must be my debut year. We played all the championship, and we played Tommy Murphy Cup, and we had won 2 games in Tommy Murphy Cup in semi-finals against Clare. And I was taken off with 10 minutes to go in the semi-final. I'm still confident enough that happy days, we're getting a game at Croke Park. I'd be able to say I played in Croke Park. Same again, I think Sean Kelly was drafted into just squad for that final, and I was doing half back. So Sean came in, and took my position. And to be honest, I wasn't. Obviously, I was a bit disappointed that I wasn't starting, but I was still thinking, right, well, Sean, as we all know, is a quality footballer, and by right should be on that team every day of the week. But I remember thinking, I'll get on, keep your head right, do the job, and get on. And for whatever reason, Jody Gorney, the manager, didn't play me. So that was very very hard to take. And that was at the beginning of my career. So I thought, I lost an opportunity to play in Croke Park for my county, and then full circle towards the end of my career, league final against Louth. The exact same thing happened. I think I didn't play. I was played all the National League games, but taken off against London. Didn't play the next 2 games, then played the last game against Louth. Again, thought to myself, right, I've got a good chance of starting. Didn't get started, wasn't that annoyed, disappointed, but wasn't annoyed, because I thought, right, as long as I can put my shoulder away and help the team out, and I'll get on at some stage. And Groyd and Fitzy, the manager at the time, didn't play me. And I was really, really, really disappointed after that game. It was very hard to take. I was annoyed. I was embarrassed. My family came down to watch me, and I think everybody expected me to get on, and I didn't. And I remember going home. I was living in an apartment in Belfast at the time. I remember going home. I was just feeling really down on myself, feeling sorry for myself. Got into the shower, and I thought, right, near the end of my career here, I'll just finish it here. And I made that decision. I was finishing in the shower, and I just obviously thinking about it. By the time I got out of the shower, I thought to myself, if I finish playing county football, like, that's who I am. That's what I do. There's nothing else. There's nothing else to me or to what I do. I learned playing county football, so I can't do it. Because when you're playing county football, you are in a bubble. Like, you're in a bubble. That's all you do. You're training 6 days a week. Every decision you make is based along schedule, county schedule. But I went back to training anyway, and I spoke to the management, told them how I felt. And they told me their reasons, but they said to me, you're a big part of the team. We're playing Donegal in the championship. Just keep your head and try to work hard. Doesn't mean you're out of the country. So I did that. I worked hard to get onto the championship team, and I think I did. I came on. I think a few things happened that I got starting the next day against Donegal, and I had a good day that day.
Sean, you'd moved on and you got back into the team, and what age are you now in this here time? And you went on and played against Michael Murphy, and I think there's great comparisons there. Did you learn anything from way back from your debut? Were you able to grab anything? Because you went from marking probably the best full forward in your debut in Ireland, in Enda Muldoon, and the second, maybe the 2 top forwards in Ireland, Enda Muldoon, Paddy Bradley, and now fast forward and you're marking Michael Murphy.
Yeah, well, I'm 36 now, so getting very old for football. But I think, I went on Michael Murphy that day. And I was happy with the performance on him. But I think the biggest difference, Cobo was cornerback that day as well. So there is similarities, but I think the main difference was that Cobo and I had a bit more experience. When I was marking Enda Muldoon, there was nobody standing in front of me. Cobo was sweeper that day, and made my job a hell of a lot easier. And we're talking about different people's motivation. When I was talking about marking Paddy Bradley way back, motivation is different. When I was marking Michael Murphy that day, my motivation was just don't allow him to get a ball. If I don't touch a ball, that's okay. So any high ball came in, I just used all the strength I could do and just broke it or just made it awkward, and Cobo swept it up. And I think that's how we dealt with it definitely the first half of that game. About Michael Murphy that day is that even though he wasn't firing on all cylinders, his work ethic and his want for the team to win over his desire to play well, was unbelievable. Because I remember we were doing really, really well in the first half, and then in the second half we kind of opens up a good bit. But I remember Michael Murphy taking me right in front of the dugouts. So I was doing full back, doing full forward, and Michael Murphy just taking me to the dugouts to just stand on the line, knowing in himself that he's not going to leave my side because it's Michael Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to stand with him. and all it did was it just opened up a massive space in front of Colin McFadden, and there I think Owen McNeilis had a really good game that day. It just opened that centre up for those boys, and they beat as well. When I was playing that game, or any game since then, not just against Mike, or just against anyone, you know, when you've got 10, 11, 12 years experience, you know, you learn from that, whether you know you learn from you do, you know, you learn that, you know, if he does get the first ball and score the first point, you know, it's not the end of the day. It's very early on in the game. Don't give up. Keep doing what you're told to do. And the same, and the other side of that coin is, if you're having a good game, don't stop trying to have a good game, because, you know, you're marking the forward. If they're playing county football and they're inside forward, they're pretty dangerous. So they could, you know, get a goal very early, very easily. So you just need to stay focused on your task at all times.
I think, Sean, as well, like, just talking then about the times, different times you've dealt with those rejections, what advice would you give to a younger person in terms of, like, what did you do literally after you'd heard you'd been dropped? Like, what was your reaction? Because I know sometimes people would, you know, straight away, maybe some people walk out of the change rooms, and some people walk out, some have nothing to do with it. So how did you deal with that reaction?
Well, I think, you know, I'd be volatile enough, and sometimes I would react before I think. But like I say, I do like to reflect on everything that I do. So those times were with rejection, especially the 2 games in Croke Park, and a few of the times when I've played for Antrim and dropped for championship, you know, I've always thought that I'll play some part. So my immediate feeling would always be disappointment. Sometimes you know what's coming, sometimes you don't. But then I'd always be fairly right. I'm disappointed. I've got an hour here to be disappointed. Once that hour's over, or whatever length of time that's over, stop feeling sorry for yourself. Get on with it. You still could have a job to do. And that's what I did. You just have to. It's very hard to do, but you have to put the team over yourself. You know, if you can contribute to the team performing, the team winning, that's more important than your own personal feeling. You know, so for people who are rejecting, get used to it. You know, get used to it. You're going to be rejected. You're not going to get everything your own way. And I'm not even talking about rejection as in not starting in the football team or starting the team. I mean rejection as in maybe you're not playing the position that you want to play. Maybe you're not doing the role that you want to do within a team. Maybe you see yourself as a different type of player than management or people see yourself. Well, but you just need to understand that most of the time it's not personal against you. So you just have to believe in yourself, put your head down and work harder. And you know, and I don't mean, you know, and I don't agree with, if you're unhappy about not starting, just keep your mouth shut and just soldier on. I think you need to go and ask why. Don't demand to be told why, but I'm not starting. What made the decision for you not to start me? So then you can pick up on what they said, you know, and then you can work on that.
John, do you do that by text, or would you approach the manager straight after the game, or would you do it? And what would you recommend how a player at your level?
Well, what I'd recommend would probably be different from what I've done some of the time. I definitely would recommend having a think about it, and maybe writing down what you want to ask, and then going in and being articulate and being calm and asking the management, what do you think I could do to have a better chance of starting this team? Now, obviously, there's times that I hadn't got on in games, and straight away in the change rooms, I went in and said how I'm feeling. That's good for nobody. You know, it didn't do me any good. I wasn't able to, you know, all that came across was I was angry, and that doesn't look good on me. So I wouldn't advise that. It's always, you know, after all those times, I went back and thought what I said, and I've had to ring the manager and apologise for doing it then. And then maybe you get to the reason why you weren't starting. And like I said, most managers, if they're worth your salt, will give you a reason why you're not starting, or why you're playing a different position, or why you didn't make the squad at all. And part of the manager's job is to manage every player and to tell a player how they think they could improve is part of their job, and it's up to you whether you want to take that. If you don't take it, you're probably not getting on again. But if you do take it and try to work to improve it, you may get on. But also, like, there's a term that came to the end of my career, and I agree with it, but I didn't like it. Horses for courses. Horses for courses. I was told horses for courses, and it is true. A player might not start in one game against one opposition, but would be an automatic starter against a different opposition. I think that's why the league final hurt me so much against Louth. It's because they had a big boy. I can't remember his name, but we called him Thor because he had long hair. I thought he was made for me. Horses for courses, but that's just the way it is.
Like, so you're saying that to a young person, you're saying you should think what you're doing, think what you're going to say, and are you going to approach them the next day? Are you going to approach them the next day at training? Are you going to send them a text?
I think you could do it whatever way you feel most comfortable. I think, but I do think the most important thing is to have a clear set of questions, and not saying why am I not starting, why am I not in your team, why am I not midfield. More of what can I do? What do you think I could do to make me a better footballer for this? I think that's the most important thing. And I think a manager would be happier to tell you what you could do or what the team needs more than you need to work on whatever personal attribute you need to work on. But I would always try to bring it around to the team. Now, what I'm saying is that I haven't always done it this way, but after, with reflection and thinking back, that's the way you're going to get your word across. That's the way you're going to get the respect of the manager. Like, I'm sure if you go shouting and roaring at a manager, or you're so angry that you can't even string two sentences together, that the manager's just that boy's got a bad attitude, and that's what you want. I suppose that's what you want to get from it. You want the manager to realise, right, he's clearly very disappointed, but his attitude's good.
Yes.
And then the manager, I'd be hoping the manager think, well, let's just see if he takes what we said on board.
What inspired you for your sport?
Well, I think my family. I think most people's families would be the first people to inspire my family, but I've been involved in the club for a long, long time. And I actually think, I can't be 100% sure of this, but I think the game that we played not so long ago this year, I don't think Roy and I were playing. And I think that was the first time somebody in my family hasn't been playing in the Ballymena senior team for a long, long, long time. But so my family inspired me. First of all, I went to all my dad's trainings, even as a wee boy, and I'm trying to replicate that with Shay. As you know, I bring Shay to as many trainings as I can because I was just so comfortable in the club and so comfortable with all the players. Like I remember the likes of Frankie Delargy after every game. After every game for Ballymena, he would pick me up and hold me upside down. I was always in the change. I always remember the smell of deep heat in the changing rooms and all, and just sitting beside my dad and all the men in around. So that inspired me first of all to God. I want to play senior football for Ballymena. I started off my primary school days in All Saints. All Saints was more of a soccer school. We had really good top soccer teams every year, except the year that I was P7. We were rubbish. I think St. Louis and your school even beat us. But we're more of a soccer school. Kieran Butcher from Cargan came in a few times and took us sessions. But the Gaelic in All Saints at the time wasn't great. We had a principal, Mr. McVeigh. I don't know where he's at now, but he was principal when I was P6 and 7. He tried to bring more football in to the school, but it really wasn't that great. And seeing, then I went to St. Patrick's in Ballymena, and that was the same. You went there as well. It might have changed by the time you go, but we would have played. It was more of a basketball school, but we would have played maybe one game a year or something. It was very minimal. There was no, if you weren't like me, involved in the club, you weren't going to get involved in the club. You weren't going to get involved in playing. So it wasn't really until after my GCSEs, when I went to St. Louis Grammar in Ballymena, that my Gaelic started picking up. My Gaelic in school started playing McLaren in football with likes of Paul Dock, a few other boys, and we had a decent McLaren team. I think we got beat by St. Collins Derry in the semi-final. That really changed because Paul McFlynn from Derry was the school teacher, and he was in charge of the McLaren team. he would train. I remember training over Christmas, coming in, training over Christmas in the pitch in St. Louis with it snowing and doing running sessions, real proper, I suppose, like as close to county as you could get. And I just loved it. And I just loved that my teacher was mad into football and I could talk to him about football. And then Mr. Paul McFlynn made me captain, which I was like,
wow.
That was one that honestly that was the my upper sixth year. So I was on the team my lower sixth year, and my upper sixth year I was captain.
Wow.
And I can remember just thinking, God, I'm just new to this school, and I'm captain of this team. I was really honoured. So I was captain of that McCarnan team, and like I said, I think Paul went on to win a college all-star for that team. So we were good, and there was more of a history of football instantly. So, you only had to walk in through the PE area and you would see all the Gaelic teams who have been successful. But as you know, when I was growing up, the Gaelic landscape, the football landscape in Ballymena was completely different to what it is now. Like, none of my friends, like you were a couple of years younger than me, lived across the road, and we had hung around. It was only really us two that played Gaelic. The rest of the boys were more into soccer, and there was no, unless you were family involved or got involved, there was nobody to inspire you, or But now you look at Clark. That's why whenever I talk to any of the young people in our club, I'm always like you do not know how lucky you have it. That Gaelic football now in Ballymena is second nature. Everybody sends their children to Gaelic football now. Young children in Ballymena now are very lucky that we have a great juvenile setup.
I just want to jump back into your transition from St Patrick's College going to St Louis Grammar School. For young sports people who are passionate about their sport and want to get to the top level, do you feel it's and we'll narrow down within Gaelic football, from your experience, do you think it's essential to get and play at that college level?
It gave me, like I said, it gave me. I've never trained. Even like I was on the under 16 county team and stuff, but I had never trained in the manner and with the discipline that I had to until I went to St Louis with Paul McCann. And I think that he was using, he was one of the best footballers in Ulster at the time. I think he was using his knowledge and his experiences of playing for Derry and mirroring that into St Louis. I think it brought me on leaps and bounds. It gave me a hunger. It gave me that appetite to be disciplined, to work. Like I'm nearly going to say that the time I was telling you about when we had gone snowing, it was St Stephen's Day. So that we all had to go in, and we were on school holidays. And we went in and we had to run around the pitch, and fitness, doing running for fitness sake was all new to me. I think in school we were training after school twice a week and playing a game once a week, and that's quite a lot on top of everything else that you were doing. But I loved training with St Louis. I think I was very eager to please Paul McFlynn too. That kind of way. You're somebody that you looked up to. You talk about inspiring, somebody you looked up to. You wanted to please, and you wanted to prove that you were a good footballer. You're a dedicated footballer, and that was only made more powerful by him making me captain. I wanted to prove that I can be a good captain. But in terms of developing. Do you need to go play college football to develop? I definitely think it helps, without a doubt. Now, I was playing B, Clarn Cup was B standard, so it wasn't even McCrory Cup or anything like that. And I think if you look at the natural pathway to being a county footballer now, it is probably college football, McLaren, or more likely McCrory, university team into university, and then into the county team set up that way. Now, it doesn't mean that that's the only way, but I think if you're playing college football, and I'm talking about McCrory football, you're playing against the best young footballers in Ulster. It's like you're going to be a better player yourself. We've seen it with boys who just went to university, Peter, from our club, who've improved so much by playing on the Georgetown or the Queen's Freshers team. It's because they're playing against different people. They're hearing different voices. The training is more routine and more structured. They'll definitely improve because of it. It's a bit like I'm doing a bit of MMA now. It's a bit like if you're wanting to spar with somebody, You don't go and get better. You don't go and spar or roll with somebody that you know that you're going to have an easy time. You only get better if you leave your ego at the door and spar or roll with somebody who's going to destroy you. That's how you get better. And it's the same with football. If you're marking better players, training against better players, you're going to get better. There's people who just want to be uncomfortable. And I think if you can be uncomfortable in training, be comfortably uncomfortable in training, you'll improve. What I mean by that is picking somebody that he's stronger than me, he's faster than me, I'm going to try, he's better at catching the ball, I'm going to try to at least keep up with him. Because if I can keep up with him, that'll make me better.
What advice would you give to young people to manage and still grow and have a good time at university, but also still develop and grow to their potential in sport?
Well, I think you need to figure out what's important for you. Every decision I made about university was football based. I wanted to go to Georgetown because at the time I thought they were like the football club to go to between them and Queen's.
You ever attempted to go to Queen's?
Yeah, like my decision to go to university was like I would never advise anybody to do what I did in terms of university. I just tried to get a job. I just wanted to go to Georgetown, and I did whatever course I could do to get into Georgetown. So I would have played for any team, but you need to, when you go to university, you need to realise, especially a lot of the people who are going to university are breaking through on the county team. And I suppose at the same time, it is actually the age where you can maybe enjoy yourself a bit more and still play at a good level. But you can also pick up injuries. You need to decide what. For me, it was just that I really wanted to be as good a footballer as I can. And I suppose I was lucky that Sinai, the Sports Institute of Northern Ireland, started taking in Gaelic footballers. I think maybe the year before I started university, and I was lucky enough to get a space in that. So I was training really early in the morning. I was training like every day of the week at 6 o'clock in the morning, going in and doing the training with Sinai, which was like weights training and running the film.
Was that first year, and how often were you going in the mornings, and what time at?
I was always in university for 6 o'clock.
Wow.
I can't actually remember how many days we trained with Sinai, but there was morning weight stations and then there was running stations in the afternoon, so it was quite a lot. I remember counting at that stage that I was training 14 times a week, so 14 different sessions a week at that stage, between club football, county football, and everything. But I just wanted, I just wanted to be as good a footballer as I can. It was my first introduction. Me and my friend from the club, Damien Kelly, we went before in upper sixth when we were in St. Louis. We went to the gym every morning before school, but we were just lifting weight. We didn't know what we were doing. And Sinai was my first introduction to properly lifting weights and doing mobility and looking after my recovery. And I really, really, really enjoyed that. And I saw it benefit me. So I didn't want to go out and party and have a lot of drinks and go to training hungover the next day. I just didn't want to do it. That was just me. And I think it definitely helped me out because I got physically stronger. I got faster. And I think I got a better footballer because of that. I didn't drink till I was like 23, 24, and even at that, when I did, as you know, I do it very rarely. But that was just a decision that I made. That doesn't mean you have to. It's just a decision that I made, and it wasn't really a sacrifice, because I was used to going out sober and having the crack with my friends, and I lived in a house with people who didn't play any sport at university, so I got the crack with them. I think it was a very difficult time for young people. The first time away from home, so they're getting freedom, and I think it's a very important time to grow up and realise who you are and what you want, and if you want to play sport and want to be good at sport, it's quite an easy decision, and if you don't, that's okay too. Don't beat yourself up about it. This is why I said earlier that. If you want to be good at sport, you have to be selfish, and you are selfish. That you're not going to go to birthday parties, you're not going to go to dinner with your girlfriend on Valentine's Day, or you're not going to go to a stag party. You're putting your own motivation, your own desires before other people's, and that's not selfish, but it's also how how you get better. And I'm not even talking about world class athletes. I'm just talking about improving yourself.
Yeah.
As a sports person, whether that's club football, county football, or whatever, you need to be selfish. If you want to be the best you can, you need to be selfish. And that means maybe going out training 6 days a week. Not being in the house. To take your girlfriend out for dinner. That's just selfish. They just. For me, at the time, I was so intrinsically motivated that I wanted to be. That my motivation wasn't about getting my name in the paper. It wasn't about people thinking I'm a brilliant footballer or winning trophies. There's none of this external motivation at all. I want to be as good as I can be. I got an opportunity here. I'm being trained in Sinai. I'm being trained with the county. Absolutely make the most of this. And if at the end of the day I'm not where I want to be, well, then that's it. I've got no regrets. And that's the way I look at my career now. I'm not the most successful footballer. I was never the most gifted footballer. I think I've been quite an unlucky footballer in that I missed a couple of provincial finals. But I have absolutely no regrets, because every time I put that Antrim jersey on, I gave it everything I had. When we trained, I gave it everything I had. That's why I never regret it. And I don't have medals. I don't have any medals to show. I don't have any great moments that people that stand out for people. I don't have any of that. But I'm very comfortable in what I've done in my football so far.
When you moved into the senior setup at County Antrim, who was in the change room there? Was there any? Did you feel intimidated?
I don't think I was intimidated, but I obviously knew there was a gap between the likes of Joe Quinn, Kevin Brady, Kevin Madden, these players. I obviously knew there was a gap, but I was never intimidated. I knew I had a lot to work on. Joe Quinn, I suppose I was aiming for his position, but at the time it was like a man and Joe Quinn against a boy and me, and I was just a boy, and I just took the opportunity to learn from them and not try to run before I could crawl. I realised that I'm going to have to serve my time here, and that whole first year, I never played any competitive football. It didn't annoy me. I was happy. I was happy in that I was learning, and I could see myself getting better. I could see myself improving as a footballer, and it definitely, that first year not playing any football definitely helped me the second year when I played quite a lot of football, because I wasn't awestruck when I come in, albeit I was half back, but I was playing with boys that I knew, so I built a relationship for a whole year with these boys, and I think I was probably speaking for other people, but I think they realised that I was serious about trying to be the best I could be for Antrim, because I stuck out a whole year not playing, and I never gave up. I never complained about it. So I think that helped me out with the county.
Moving on through your career, through work, you moved to London, and I'm just going to bring up a photo here, Sean, at that time. I just wanted to focus on the numbers and the jersey, actually. So I've just got a photo here. I just want you to talk about it, and what I'd like to highlight to anyone who's just listening to this, it's a photo of Sean rallying the troops, and in each photo he's playing against different players. He's playing against the Mayo team here, and you're also playing against your native county of Antrim and your good friend Conor Murray. And I'm just going to read out the numbers in the jersey. Here's one of the numbers you're wearing 9, one of the numbers you're wearing 3, and one of the numbers you're wearing 12. So talk to us about that move to London, why you did it, what it was like, and then we'll dive down into some of the experiences you had and what advice you give to someone doing that.
I moved to London because I got into PGCE to become a teacher in East London, so it was kind of a career move. And the first, I went there and I thought, right, I'm just going to concentrate on my studies and concentrate on trying to get back home as soon as I can, because the moment I landed in England, I wanted to be back home to Ireland, playing for the club and stuff. But so I decided not to play any football. I made that decision that I wasn't going to play football. I was living in East London in Beckton, just off the DLR. And I was asked a few times to come to London training and play, but I didn't want to do it. Eventually, I didn't play any National League. Eventually, the manager phoned me again and asked me would I come in. and I came in and played championship that year, and then I stayed on for another 2 years, captain the team the next 2 years. London, my footballing life in London was probably one of the most fondest that I have. I think it was the time when I developed the most as a player. I think it was a time where I became more of a leader. I became a more mature footballer. And the only reason why I did that, Peter, I've probably told you this before, is because I was playing on what was seen as a weaker team, and I was one of the better players. And I had that kind of cushion in that I wasn't playing. That I was going to start the next game pretty much, and I would start the next game. Every game that I played for Antrim before I went to London and after I went to London, I was always playing with a bit of pressure that I could get dropped. So therefore, I wasn't able to play with the fluency or freedom that I was afforded to me in London, and that's why I played so many different positions for London, and that's why I enjoyed it. And I think that's why I played really well for London when I was there, is because I had the confidence to go out and play, and I didn't really have to worry too much about making a mistake. I think that's so important. If you're worrying about making mistakes, you're not going to try anything, then you're not going to get any rewards. That picture with me, the one you had up with me with no top on in the middle, that was actually after a game. We had beaten Fermanagh in the back door of the championship, and it was London's first championship win in I think 37 years at the time. And it's still probably one of my proudest and happiest moments playing football.
How'd that game go?
We won. I can't actually remember the game, but I think we won quite handily enough. I think the game before that, Peter, we played Mayo in the championship, and I was captain of the team we played. I think Mayo went on to the Ireland final that year, but we brought Mayo to extra time, and I think they kicked a few of their big players stood up in extra time, kicked a few points, and beat us by 3 points. But we had that game. It was a proud moment, sticking it with Mayo for so long, but also disappointing because we had Mayo beaten until the last 10 minutes, and then they just kicked a few points and we lost the game. But London was brilliant, and the manager, the 2 years I was captain, Paul Coggins was the manager, and he just oozed enthusiasm, and it was just great to play for. The lads that we played with were all great fellas and good footballers. I think London. Mark Gotcha, who is still over there, definitely would have been on the Galway team playing. He was really good. Paul Geraghty from Galway as well was very good. Loads of good footballers all around. It was just a great couple of years playing for London.
Were you training with a club, or how were you keeping yourself fit? Like, what advice would you give to people who are unable to get to a club or train with a club but still want to keep playing or keep in shape?
Well, my first year, I went to Park, and I think maybe it was 2011, and we were. Was it 2010? And I think we were. I was still flying home to play for Ballymena, so I was in the park kicking football myself. I was going to the gym, so even though I wasn't playing for a team, for the county, I was still keep myself fit. It goes back to if you want to do it, you'll do it, and also I was used to the stage of training all the time, so I kept on training. But so I could play for London. I had to sign for a club over there, so I signed for Parnell's. Parnell's at the time probably weren't one of the strongest teams over there. I think I always fully expected, and I think other people fully expected for me to join Tyrconnell Gales, because there is a bit of a relationship with Ballymena and Tyrconnell Gales. But Dennis Goggins, he rang me one day and brought me to a Chelsea match and chatted to me, and Chelsea against Atletico Madrid. I liked his approach, and I just signed for them. And I played quite a lot of league games for Parnell's, but I very rarely trained with them because at this stage I had moved to Colchester. I was teaching in Colchester. I had moved to Colchester, and Colchester was 2.5 hours away from London. So I very rarely trained, played matches, but never ever played championship. Always signed home for Ballymena, and I think that was to the annoyance of some of the people over in England. I think I actually my final year when I was captain, I think the London committee wanted the manager to not make me captain because I wasn't playing championship there. Mm-hmm. But I was still captain. But no, I loved London and training with London. You know, it was a lot of hard work because I was training. I was working and finishing work at 4:30, mm-hmm. and leaving work and driving 2.5 hours to London to train. Straight after training was over, there was no time to shower or to chat to anybody, have a bit of crack, and it was 2 hours back. I was getting home at 11, half 11, going to bed, and that was my routine. 3 days a week when I trained, and then at the weekend we would play matches. That was my routine. So I was there living with my girlfriend at the time, and she was very understanding, and just, you know, luckily she had friends there too, so she was able to put up with it. But again, it was, you know, I was disciplined, it was sacrifice. But I always thought that London team could have done something. So, you know, there's two feelings of, you know, of pain, and that's either, you know, discipline. So the pain of discipline, or the pain of regret. And, you know, I've always rather have the pain of discipline. You know, the constant traveling and constant training and having no time for social life or no time to really relax. I'd rather have that pain rather than the pain of regret. Thank God I could have been involved in that team. I could have been involved in that team that beat Fermanagh, or that team that nearly beat Mayo. You know, so that's what motivated me.
When you were in London, while you were there in London, you actually came up against your native county, County Antrim. Take me through, where were you when you found out you had Antrim on the books? And a great Antrim side too.
I was in my classroom, and I think the draws had gone Good Morning Radio or something, and it was at 8 o'clock in the morning, so there's no kids in, think like. But I got a draw, and I found we were playing Antrim, and I was buzzing. Like, I was so happy to be playing Antrim. At that time, I had a lot of respect for the Antrim players. I thought they were just a team full of athletes, and they're really, really good. So I was really enjoying the play. I knew that it was potentially my last year. It was my last game for London. It was potentially my last game because I'd been offered a job back home, mm-hmm. In Dallas. You know, there's again, I was motivated to, you know, this is my chance to show that, you know, I've developed as a player, because people have said to me before that I wasn't good enough to be playing, even though I played 2 championship years, I wasn't good enough for county football before I went to London. I didn't believe them. People said that to me, but it still always stuck in my head. And I thought, right, this is an opportunity to show people that I've improved as a player over in London. So I was delighted to be playing against London. I was straight on the phone to my mum and dad, we've got London. Because even every London game, my mum and dad, and every Antrim game, my mum and dad came to it. So they came to all the games. And if most of our London games were throughout Ireland, my mum and dad would always be there. So I texted them first of all. So buzzing. And then obviously, you know, there was a bit of media going around because I played for London, I played for Antrim, and playing against them now. So it was fantastic to be playing against them and coming up against friends as well.
Was there any texts from any teammates or beforehand, or any banter?
I think there was with Kerzo and myself text each other, or I think Kerzo says I text him. I can't remember what I text him. He'll not forget. He'll know exactly. So you could ask him. But I texted him something, and Kerzo thought it was sus that I was texting so close to the match. I remember. I think Tomas McCann got married the day before, and I think Tomas was texting me, how long does it take? You know, how long does it take to get from Heathrow Airport to whatever? And I felt like telling him to go the wrong. I felt like giving him wrong directions or whatever. But no, there was a wee bit of banter, and there was nothing major. Like, it's funny because I was in that game for London. I was playing midfield, and I was playing well. Happy days. I'm going to play in midfield against Antrim. At the week of the match, the management said, "Sean, you're going to be doing fullback." I was like, when I was doing fullback, because, you know, when you're doing fullback, you can't, you know, you can play well as a fullback, but you can't express yourself. So I was all disappointed. And then, you know, and I was going to mark my cousin Michael McGill, and I knew Michael was a quality footballer, so I was shifting my mind, right? I'm going to have to play Michael. Michael's having quite a good year that year, and he's big and strong and fast. So I was like, right, I'm going to have a battle with him. I was happy enough, but I also knew that he didn't like flying, so I was kind of hoping that the nerves of flying would get the better of him, and I would have an easier. I actually think he got the boat over. But then it was only halfway through the week. For whatever reason, he said, "No, Sean, you're going to go into midfield," and I was buzzing. I was going to midfield, but I was also I just psyched myself up to be Mark and Michael. So I was in midfield rather, and all the London boys were, "What's this team like?" And I was trying to be as honest as possible. I said, "They're a good side. Like, they're a team of athletes. Like, you know, we had a lot of great players. I think Nibs, but Nibs actually I think was in Liverpool, and he flew. I don't think he actually played too much for under that year, but he played against us, and I think he threw one into the net, which they got a goal, which allowed them to win. But we'll say enough about that. No, it was a great occasion. But the first thing that I remember is, and I arrived for the match, and Jim Murray was there. Jim Murray was with the Antrim team, and like he just came over and made a beeline for me and spoke to me, and I like Jim's always a nice man. I just thought that was really nice of him to, you know, come over and speak to me. And yeah, we played. Yeah, when we playing the game, I just loved the fact that all the Antrim people were there and all the London people were there that I was playing for at the time. So it was just a really good occasion.
You got man of the match, yeah, and you had a good game. And
I got man of the match. Which,
who you mark him?
I was marking Mick McCann. But to be fair to Mick, he had Tomas's wedding the night before. But I remember every game Paul, our manager, would say, "Sean, I want you to go out and lay down a marker." So that was usually just like going in and hitting somebody, like not like dirty hitting them, but just going in hard. Mm-hmm. And I remember the start of that game, the ball midfield was thrown up, and I can't remember if he won it, but Tony Scullion came on, like Tony Dawes, comes off the line and takes the ball, and I just thought, right, I'm just going to set a marker, and I hit him with the shoulder, and he dropped and spilled the ball, and we got the ball, and then that just, you know, I was buzzing after that. I just had a good game. Just one of those things where things were going right for me, and I was so motivated to do well, because I saw it as a trial for the next year, because I knew Becker, and I was hoping Becker would be manager the next year, so I was really wanting to get back into the Antrim team, and that was a good way to do it. So luckily it went well for me.
That's magic. And you're coming back into that Antrim team. You had a great performance. So just reflecting on some of the players you played with in that Antrim team, you know, who were some of the what players you really admired on that team to play with, and who were some of the hardest trainers?
I'm sure if you asked this to anybody who played, like James Luckery's up there. I don't think I've seen somebody improve as a footballer as much as I have James. Like he's doing his business down in Cork. Like, you know, that just speaks volumes of the character he had and the footballer he is. He was a fantastic trainer. Kevin Niblett was a fantastic trainer again, another quality footballer. Not so good a trainer, but one of the best footballers is Kevin McGorty. Kevin would have graced any team, no doubt about it. He was really good. Mark Sweeney came in later years. Mark, I didn't know that game we played for London. I didn't know Mark at the time. Mark was playing against him, but I didn't know him. Paddy McBride, didn't know Paddy McBride. You know, these players who became established county footballers after, I didn't know them. But they're like Sweeney was always worked hard and motivated. But Niall McKeever was always super motivated. Like, he trained really hard and he lived the life of an athlete. And, you know, if things weren't going well, he'd be annoyed about it, and he'd think about it, and he'd try to improve it, and he drove standards. You know, he wasn't, you know, there's no pussyfooting around that. Like, if he thought you were putting in, he would say to you. So, you know, there was loads of good footballers in Antrim. Like those boys that I mentioned, and I haven't even mentioned the McCanns, Justin Crozier. You know, they would have been, no doubt, they would have been Cobo. They would have been in any team.
What's your thoughts on skill versus physical development? Would you go back? Would you do anything different?
Yeah, I think that the photo of me down the Ballymena top was 2011, when I was probably around 92 kilograms and going to the gym quite regularly, and I was doing a good gym program in London at the time. And I definitely think that me being my gym and me my physique growing improved when I was in London, because I think the programs were better at that stage. So I think you do. I think you do need. I think I did need that. You saw there. I was quite skinny, and even for a lot of the times with Ballymena, believe it or not, I was corner forward because I was small. So I definitely needed to bulk up for the position that I played and for the way the game was played. Like 6, 7, 8 years ago was completely different to now. But I think after that photo, after when I came back the second time to play for London, I think I possibly got too big at a stage, too muscle bound. I was more like a rugby player than a Gaelic footballer. Like I remember I was lifting heavy weight, and I was talking to one of my coaches that I did MMA with, and I was telling him that I nearly played football to lift weights.
Wow.
Rather than I nearly played football to lift weights rather than lift weights to play football. I'd maybe getting this, oh God, I can't go and bench press or deadlift or do an Olympic lift today because I've got a match tomorrow and being annoyed about that. I think there has to be a happy medium. I definitely think now, if I was to tell children or younger people or minors or anybody coming through in our senior team, is if you need to bulk up, go and do it properly, and do it correct. But I think football is a skill game. You need to be out in the pitch, practicing your skills. You need to have attributes of many different sports now to play football, and that's, I think, again, because of the situation I'm in with being a father. I thought about what I want. I want Shay to play sport, so what I want for him, and the first sport I think I'm going to put him into is, and it's something I have absolutely zero knowledge of, but it's gymnastics.
Really?
I just think like you take every sport in terms of fundamentals of sport, it's control of movement. If you can control your movement, if you understand how your body moves, and if your core's strong, you think of gymnastic movements. Like what sport would a gymnastic movement not be beneficial to you in some way? So I think you do have to have that base of strength training, but it can't be the be all and end all. It's a skill game. As CJ McCourt used to always say when we're bench pressing or deadlifting, he was always like, you can't bench press that over the bar, So it is true. It is true. Being able to move 150 kg isn't going to make you a better footballer. It might help you improve, but you have to find a happy medium, and that's why coaching is so important, and that's why getting the right people in is so important. That's I think that's what happened to me. When I came home, I was lifting weights, and all I was doing was trying to lift as heavy as I can, and I wasn't thinking about my sport, and I wasn't thinking about the game. So everything has to be sport specific, and a lot of the conditioning now is actually running conditioning. Rather than strength conditioning. You could do a lot of Olympic lifts, but to do Olympic lifts, you need to be well trained. So I would tell young people now to be very careful with the weights that they're lifting. Don't be obsessed with it, because if you I look at the legs of some of the older boys, who are my age. So the boys who are my age, the skillful players, like Mike McCanty, you're younger than me, and last year he was the best club footballer in the county. He's the same age as me because he's got skill, because he's a nice footballer. Those attributes will last you longer than being strong or being powerful. Strength and power are going to be the first things to go, and that's I'm never skillful or anything like that. So I'm still rely very heavily on strength. Whereas that's going to be one of the first attributes to go.
You can see now with the MMA, you've got a fight coming up here, and does that scare you beforehand? How do you deal with those nerves?
Absolutely, it scares me, yeah. I think, again, it goes back to, am I comfortable, am I confident that I've trained hard and I've picked up the skills that the coach is telling me to pick up on? And if that's the case, I'm hoping that it'll take care of itself. I don't think it's much different from going into a championship match. I'm scared going into a championship match. Scared for a different reason. I'm scared of losing the fight, but I just don't. I don't think. I don't think you can deal with it. You just have to, like I said about nerves and stuff. You just have to be comfortable with it. And I know when I go into fight this, I'm going to be scared. Like when we did the white collar with Antrim, I can remember trying to step into the ring and my legs were shaking. I was so scared. But it's just an emotion you have to deal with as a sports person.
Like your legs are shaking going in there. What are you saying to yourself?
Don't do this. I don't. Like I was telling, like it's funny because my motivation's different. I'm more when I was doing those fights, and even now when I think about my MMA fight, I've got more extrinsic motivations. Like I don't want people thinking that I got beaten. I'm not scared of getting hurt, and I'm not really scared of losing, but I'm scared of people knowing that I've lost. If that makes sense.
That makes sense. That's honest.
I don't want people to think, oh, how did Snowy do? Oh, he was well beaten. Like that's probably my biggest fear that happens. And it's just, and I was never motivated like that at football. Like I never really cared if somebody said, oh, Sean McVeigh was rubbish today, because it's been said loads of times. I was never worried about that, but I'm worried if somebody's like, oh, he lost the fight.
What advice would you give to an 18-year-old Sean?
Like I said, I'm very happy with what I've done. Well, not in terms of success or being a good footballer or not being a good footballer. I'm very satisfied with what I put into it and what I gave to be the best I can. So probably the only advice I'd give to me 18-year-old is maybe to myself is in like 6 years' time, do not go to Boston for the second year in a row. stay because you're going to get lost in the final. That's
what was your great quote? Regret versus discipline.
Yeah, there's two feelings of pain. The feeling of the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. And I'd rather live with the pain of discipline, but this because a funny story. I joke and I say I'm the most unluckiest footballer because I for whatever reason I missed a big game like Antrim game against Laois when we beat Laois in the championship with their big comeback. I was suspended because I got sent off against Fermanagh. The Ulster Championship run, I was like Becker told me I was starting. I had to come back a couple of days later and tell Becker I'm going to London. Going to Boston. So I missed out that Ulster run, and then that very next year I left London. London got the Connacht final.
Oh, wow.
So I missed it as well, but. I don't regret the London one as much because I came and I had played a year of Antrim, but definitely 2009 is missing that journey and missing the buzz in the county is definitely a painful regret.
Just see for kids out there, social media, what advice would you give to a younger person when it comes to dealing with social media, and what's the reality of it, even as for younger sports people and just for people in general?
Well, the reality of it is that it's not reality. When anything's posted on social media, it's something positive that the person has done, or the person's looking sympathy for something that's gone wrong for them. So, but in terms of sport people, like there's a certain type of person. There's a certain type of person who critiques somebody on an online forum of whatever kind, and is harsh on somebody online. My advice would be, don't get in the habit of reading them. Don't get in the habit of papers because you've got people who don't understand the ins and outs of playing county football. Maybe people who've never even played county football before, giving their opinion of you, whether it's good or bad. And what happens is that if it's good, you start believing the good, but you equally believe the bad. Like I said, when you're playing football, it's only really two people you need to please, or to yourself and your management. And if you've played a game and armchair Jimmy says that, oh, why is he playing? He's rubbish. He wouldn't even get on a club senior team. But your manager keeps playing on you. It's your manager that sees you on a training pitch 4 days a week. It's not Jimmy sitting in the armchair. I wouldn't advise people to get in the habit of reading it, or I wouldn't. I'm sure we all done it. I definitely know I did it. Buy the Irish News on Monday morning and see if I'm mentioning it. But I soon learned that you're better off not reading that, or reading the forums or anything like that, because it's false. It's all false, even when it's positive or when it's negative. It's false. You could have a good article in the paper one week and a bad one the other one. Like I've always remembered, this saying, a pat on the back's close to a kick in the arse, you know. So that's true. You just need to be happy with yourself and not read into what other people think of you as much, and definitely don't get bogged down by it, because it can have an impact on you mentally.
And intrinsic, you talk a lot there about intrinsic versus external motivation.
Yeah. If I was playing for a team, like, you know, for Ballymena this year, I have some extrinsic motivation. You know, and because of my age, you know, I'm a bit selfish. I want to win a championship. I want to win. You know, I want to win something. You know, so there's a bit of extrinsic motivation in terms of that. But on a whole, I've been intrinsically motivated, and that I've always wanted to be the best that I can be. The reward is, you know, is improving myself, and I think that's why, you know, even though I haven't been successful, I'm nowhere near the most gifted Antrim footballer, but intrinsically I'm happy with what I've given Antrim and given the club so far, because it's pretty much all I had. It's pretty much all I have to give. So there's no regret there. You know, just a pain of discipline, not regret.
So there you are, guys. Like, fantastic football player, even better person. Thanks a million, Sean.
Cheers, Pete.
Cheers, Dad.